So I know the courage, the service, the sacrifice that allows us to sleep soundly at night from our forces and their families. I know it, I respect it, and I will serve it with every decision. It is part of my story, and the reason why I said from day one of my leadership that the Labour Party had to change. Change for a purpose, to respect your service, face the future in this dangerous world, and above all, to keep Britain safe.
Britain's serious about its nuclear defence. In a different era, the UK's modest nuclear arsenal might have seemed sufficient, back when the United States stood as a pillar of European defence. But those days are fading. Washington's gradual pivot away from Europe has left the continent facing a strong reality. It must be prepared to defend itself. The UK is no exception. As geopolitical tensions rise and alliances shift, renewed scrutiny is falling on Britain's nuclear capabilities and whether they are truly fit for purpose in an increasingly uncertain world. It is no surprise that calls for Britain to modernise its nuclear systems have grown increasingly urgent. Russian military exercises off the coast of Scotland continue, signalling its readiness to project force onto the British mainland. Meanwhile, China has openly showcased its set of sub-strategic nuclear weapons, underscoring the evolving global threat. For those concerned with the security of the British Isles, the UK government's move to outline a new defence strategy may come as a necessary and overdue step toward national protection. Prime Minister Keir Starmer outlined a plan aimed at modernising the country's deterrent capabilities in response to escalating global tensions. The strategy includes a £15 billion investment in nuclear warheads, the construction of up to 12 new submarines as part of the AUKUS partnership, and a commitment to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027, with ambitions to reach 3% in the next parliament. In addition to strengthening its nuclear deterrence, Britain will expand its stockpile of long-range missiles, enhance cybersecurity, and boost munitions productions. While the government insists the plan is essential for national security, critics have raised concerns about the financial burden, questioning how the increased spending will be funded. Some analysts also warn that the move could escalate international tensions. The new strategy marks one of Britain's most significant policy shifts in decades, signalling a stronger nuclear stance in an increasingly uncertain global landscape. It was noticeable that tactical nuclear weapons were not announced as part of the policy review, especially since most of the world's other nuclear powers do keep them as part of their military force. A tactical nuclear weapon is a short-range, lower-yield nuclear weapon designed for use on the battlefield rather than for large-scale strategic attacks. Unlike strategic nuclear weapons, which target cities or military infrastructure from long distances, tactical nukes are intended for localized military objectives, such as destroying enemy forces or key installations. The calls for Britain to have more diversity in its nuclear force are likely to continue. However, it's not just Britain's nuclear strategy that has been criticised in recent decades. Key UK military chiefs have been vocally critical of how the size of the UK's armed forces has shrunk decade after decade since World War II. At its peak during World War II, the UK had over 3 million active personnel. However, since the end of the Cold War, successive governments have downsized the military, shifting focus towards specialised forces and technology-driven software. In 1952, the UK's armed forces had 871,700 personnel, but by 2024 that number had dropped to 138,120. The British Army alone now consists of around 73,847 regular personnel, with additional reserve forces. Budget constraints, changing defence priorities, and a reduced emphasis on large-scale ground forces have all contributed to this decline. General Sir Patrick Sanders, head of the army, has described the planned reductions as a warning that Britain risks losing its ability to fight in a high-intensity conflict. Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, chief of the defence staff, has also acknowledged recruitment and retention challenges, with the army struggling to meet its targets. While the UK does have highly elite and skilled units at its disposal, there are going to be calls for the UK's armed forces to experience a size enhancement alongside a technological one. However clear it may be that the UK is starting to get more serious about its approach to warfare, the question is, how serious? Only time will tell how far the UK wants to push toward war fighting readiness. At Cloutskout, we also release weekly newsletters on economy, sports and culture. If you'd like to subscribe, you can see the link in the description. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.